Hello everyone. So self-care tips, well, from the self-care queen who basically thought she'd lost her dream of self-care wonderfulness in the depths of a hospital bed. So I went from 1 year ago publishing my first book with a publisher, from self-harm to self-love to be truly successful, eat, sleep, control, repeat, and breaking those habit cycles. But in the book, I talk about being perfectly imperfect, because no recovery is an onward, upward trajectory. So at times in our lives, we might find self-care easy, and at other times it's hard. But what do we do when we're in the hard part? Now, the whole point of me talking about self-care is because I know that it's good for me, but it doesn't mean that I always find it easy. I used to find it a lot easier than I do these days, but it's given me time to reflect on how to take our power back, because as you know, my favourite saying, self-care is how we take our power back. So first, identify the trigger or the cause of a behaviour that might have triggered a negative coping mechanisms rather than self-care. Self-care can simply be replacing a negative coping mechanism with a positive one. So whatever you know that you normally lean on, sometimes with me, like makeup is a good example. Sometimes it's a mask, but sometimes it's self-care. Today, I haven't put it on because I just wanted to let my skin breathe and put coconut oil on my face, because I sometimes think, oh well, it's good just to have a bit of a mix up, and that's more to let my skin breathe. But whereas when I was in hospital and I wasn't brushing my hair, I wasn't washing, I wasn't doing anything, it was out of a dislike and unworthy feeling I had inside. And just because I've gone from a real journey of self-harm to self-love doesn't mean that I still don't get knockbacks, and that's the power of resilience. So that's why I want to share my own authentic story with you, but also the tips that I've learned along the way to bounce back up quicker, faster than ever, and also not to go as far down the spiral as I would have used to, because we only look back to see how far we've come. So first, identify the, thank you for following my journey, I appreciate it. First, identify the root cause of the trigger. And then once we've got that, we can start to address it. Now, it's not an overnight fix, or it's not going to just change like that. Recovery is sometimes a slow process. So then you can identify, do I need support? Often we all need support in some capacity, whether it be from friends, loved ones, professionals, a therapist, a beautician, whatever works for you. No one size fits all when it comes to mental health or when it comes to self-care either. It's really, really important to identify what works for you. Then explore, try your best to have fun with it. Try and get to know yourself. Do you know, it's really hard to know what you even like when you're having a really low period. I know when I was like in hospital, not sure what was happening in my body, and I didn't even feel fear. I felt just isolated. Because I wasn't sure what it was that they needed to do and stuff. So now I'm on track for my surgery and lots of different things. I feel really blessed, but it was really hard to think about self-care during those times, because I felt like I didn't have my identity whilst I was in hospital or when I first came out, because you've had so many people do stuff for you, even when you don't want to, the control's been taken. So it's really hard. So that's why it's exploring what you do like in that current state, what self-care means to you. So in hospital, it was simply washing myself. Like people came in to help and just, you know, simple things like that. Then out of hospital, it's been, you know, like decluttering my house or doing different things. So it's about constantly evolving and working out what works well for you and your journey. For me, I know I love studying. I'm at the moment, I'm doing a yoga course, doing a personal training course with Origin, and doing, gosh, face yoga, personal training, and then sign language, doing just such a mix of courses. And then I want to specialise more in women's health, because we are pretty incredible, and how our cycles work. Even a lot of my own issues have been hormone imbalances and issues gynecologically, and all of that we don't talk about enough. So again, you can find your passion within your self-care, but it's what works for you. No one Cinderella shoe fits all. And then commit to it. So even if you need an accountability buddy or the supportive person to tell someone else she needs that, he needs that time, like whatever works for you, book it in, because that's the most important meeting of your day, is the check-in with yourself. And this is note to self too, because it's not like I'm always perfect. I have to remind myself on the bad days too. And then once you start to do it and you commit to it, it becomes more of a habit. And then you get into a point of like, you can do some really cool things for self-care, but start small, simple steps to self-care. Simple as taking a bath, a little bit of time out, just time to think, whatever works for you. I love time on my own, just to study and to write and to do yoga and belly dance at home. Just that time out, because I'm a real introvert, as bizarrely a lot of us on YouTube are. And I love that time away. So work out what works for you. It is oh so important. And honestly, I just want to wish you the best self-care for your journey, whatever works for you, because you are worthy. We are all worthy. And the more that I've found that we treat ourselves, so like my supportive cheerleader club, because I always say, cut out the vampires and focus on the cheerleaders. They've treated me to spa days, different like just gestures, flowers, plants. Everyone knows I love plants, and helping me do my fitness, yoga, whatever it is. Oh, and lots of fabulous vegan food. But whatever it is, get those people around you, because they'll be able to remind you as well what works for you, and what you've always loved. I had my family making me put on a bit of makeup and doing my hair, just brushing my hair. I hadn't cut my hair, I don't think, since lockdown. And so I'd gone from this like eyelashes, pampers, facials, really like pro self-care, and then because I had a lapse of suddenly having my control, it felt like taken away. As I think a lot of people felt during the pandemic, not just those who ended up in hospital. And it was a time of like, some people went back to old coping mechanisms, or maybe temporarily did, but now it's about trying to get our sparkle back, our power back. For me, it was like looking back, oh, I didn't actually go back down the spiral as I would have used to. But I can still improve, and self-care is where I lacked. So it's always reflecting back on the past, but not dwelling on it, because we can literally start a new book, start a new chapter, learn our lessons, but we don't have to blame ourselves for our past. We can learn from it. Doesn't mean that we won't ever suddenly have issues from the past, but we can always move forward. Send you so much peace, love, and shimmies, and lots of self-care sparkles, so we can get our power back together.